The blessings of God never leave your shore.
Kite Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kite Radio.
COVID-19 tips sponsored by Dex Soap. 1. Practice social distancing. 2. Wear your mask when leaving the house. 3. Wash your hands regularly for 20 seconds using our Dex Soap. 4. Cover your nose and mouth with a disposable tissue or flex elbow when you cough or sneeze. Choose Dex Soap for that extra cleanliness. Dex Soap is affordable and available nationwide.
Hours 36 sharp in this beautiful country we call Guyana on this Wednesday afternoon, and it is time for Elections Watch and COVID-19 Watch. Of course, you know the two situations are interlocking each other constantly, and here to cover it, everything considering the elections and COVID this afternoon, Mr. Leonard Gildarie, senior journalist of Kite News, and his co-host Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, and welcome once again to this beautiful day. I think our people here would have already issued that, but let's get right into it. All across from wherever you're joining us, we're going to come back and tell you a little about welcome. But as of now, major breaking news. This morning, overshadowing that big court case that we would have had, one of the many concerning elections 2020, there was talks about sanctions over the last couple of weeks. Well, it is here. This morning, the U.S. has announced in a very big way that they have a list of names in which not only the names of politicians here, but lawyers, and we also have financiers of the political parties who they believe would thwart the will of the people, and they've been handed sanctions, and this has to do with visa restrictions. So we're going to bring you all about that. Not only that, the Americans are telling David Granger, president of Guyana, to step aside to allow for a peaceful transition. So let's get right down into it. It's July the 15th, 2020, and it is 135 days since that March 2nd elections. So I want to say welcome to my co-host, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Doc, we are going to be looking at a couple of things today, not only the court case in which a judge has put down her foot and says, I'm in charge of this court at the moment, told one lawyer that this morning. The court case comes up back again on Friday, and this is with regards to the challenge that would have halted Kit Lowenfield from doing what he's supposed to be doing yesterday. At least he took it to be halted because he walked out of that meeting yesterday. So we are going to bring you, it's all happening right here in Guyana. Lots of confusion because government have even issued a statement insisting that it did not in any way interfere with GCOM's work. Court cases, and among other things, have been holding up the process. It has nothing to do with us. That's what they're saying. So I want to say welcome to this day once again, and we're going to get down right into it. We have a recording right now that came from Mike Pompeo. This is the Secretary of State, and in case you don't know who that is, this is the most powerful foreign affairs man in the United States. He reports directly to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, or any president for that matter that would have been there. That position is the chief diplomat, chief in charge of all the diplomats, and he is saying that David Granger should step aside. He's also announcing that instructions have been given. We would have been expecting this, but it is on a day today where the president is also, David Granger, is also celebrating, or he should be observing it, his 75th birthday. And it would not be lost on the people, lost on the world, the timing of this entire thing with the court action happening, his birthday on the other hand, and of course it is all coming down here. So I want to give it right over to my co-host, Dr. Yog Mahadeo, because as we speak right now, the Canada would have also come out with a statement, piling the pressure, more pressure coming on right now on the government of Guyana to move on with it. The UK, I understand, is swiftly processing similar actions, and this is Britain, actions on Guyana with regards that is likely to mirror what the US would be putting out here. So right into it, Dr. Yog Mahadeo, how are you, my brother? Long night last night, very interesting conversation there with Selwyn Peters, attorney at law, and of course we would have had on the other side Charan Prasad, the man who would have kick-started this entire process that would have seen Guyana headed to, well, it's supposed to be early election. It came back almost to the same thing, that had it not have been a no confidence motion, we would have gone to 2020. But here we are in 2020 at the moment. Half of the year has already passed. Over to you, Dr. Yog Mahadeo.
Thank you, Leonard, and good day to you and good day to everybody, all of our viewers and listeners. Indeed, it is I would not say it's a happy day. It is a sad day that we have to come to such a state, Leonard. It is a sad day that Guyana has to earn the ire of our nations across the world so that sanctions can be imposed upon our people here. We'll certainly get more into it because we need to discuss what is what's the overall achievement or aim for these sanctions and what are they looking for? And for example, to answer the question as to the government's response to the US's response to the US's statement about sanctions and removal of visa revocations and so forth. So we got to discuss whether the government is in a legitimate corner in terms of making that statement it did in response to Mike Pompeo. But it is framed. Indeed, Leonard, this Canadian statement is also very, very strongly worded, and we can come to it after you show that clip, because the final paragraph speaks very sternly. And, as you rightly said, the UK is there, and everybody is now, now that those sound bites would have emanated from the US in such strong language, it's not if, it's not when, it is. So, you're right. We can probably go to that clip and play it for everybody to hear. And if we can, thereafter, Leonard, can we play that clip with Peter Wickham? elucidating the point about the difference between sovereignty and legitimacy.
All right, if you have a copy of that, you send that to us. I think the boys could put a hand in. But in the meantime, we're going to go straight to Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State of the United States, announcing that those sanctions and urging David Granger to step aside. So here we go right into it, and we're going to be discussing that. And a little later, we're going to be talking about Peter Wickham.
A little closer to home. Today I'm announcing visa restrictions on individuals responsible for or complicit in undermining democracy in Guyana. Immediate family members of such persons may also be subject to restrictions. The Granger government must respect the results of democratic elections and step aside.
So there you would have had it. It is very, very clear, Yog, what this man is saying here. Complicity, undermining, some very, very strong words. Let's pay attention to words. If you're in English language and you are paying attention, language is a very important thing in diplomacy, the whole works of it. And so you would have seen the change in words that would have been emanating from the various embassies that has a relationship with Guyana, for not only from the US, but from Britain, Canada, the EU. We would have had CARICOM would have stepped into it, Commonwealth would have been involved. So here it is that they're talking about not only complicity and undermining, but it's going directly. It is saying Granger must step aside. It's also talking about undermining and complicity. And they're talking here very important, not only you, Yog Mahadeo Gildarie, it is saying families as well. So it's all happening. Over to you, Yog Mahadeo. Let us dissect this.
Yes, Leonard. And it is important that we look, as you rightly point to, the change in language, the change in tone. And so the last time when Mike Pompeo he would have said the last time that he's instructed his department to look into who's responsible, right?
Yes.
He did not use the words Granger government. He did not point a direct finger to the Granger government per se, but he did say that he's directed his department to start investigate. Now, today that has changed. Today he has said the Granger government identifying them should step aside. Now, we got to discuss this in its entirety because, as you rightly pointed out, the language of diplomacy is very, very different from what you and I would have gotten used to in our everyday life. And we cannot take it for granted that they're saying, in a particular way, things that we thought or we would want them to say. They are not guided by our thoughts. They're guided by looking at law, looking at justice, looking at the impact of one nation going rogue against the rest of the world. Leonard, everybody on the APNU AFC side, I've heard the Blow Brigade leaders today abusing the NCN airtime. And I am calling for some legal recourse to be taken as to find out whether they're paying for that airtime. But they were on airtime this morning saying that, what is taking away some people's visa? And they pointed to the fact that some ministers of the former government's visa was taken away, but they're alive and they're well and they're doing okay and stuff like that. It is not the same. In the previous instance, the U.S. did not make a public statement like this. That's one. Two, the U.S. did not say we're going to go after the families might also face the same kind of rebuke. And as well, Leonard, you got to remember the Blow Brigade is forgetting that they're dependent on these countries for loans. Look, the company that owns the telephone industry, both telephone companies, you think they're owned by Guyanese? These are American firms operating here. At least one of them is. So we got to think that, if sanctions are to come, and we also know, Leonard, that sanctions do not only mean a revocation of visas. Sanction also means personal sanctions like freezing of assets and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, Leonard, the people of Guyana has to know, and it is something we need to discuss openly. When Mr. and Mrs. Blow Blow, when the Blow Blow Brigade started to talk, well, yes, let them impose their visa sanctions and all of this and da 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 da. Are they representing all of you, ladies and gentlemen, in this country that's called Guyana? Are they representing all of you? And you know what, Leonard? Those people who think lightly of this visa revocation and lightly of the importance of Canada and UK and US and the CARICOM and so, why don't they burn their passport? Why don't they give up their visas? All those, every single one who's backing this illegal administration for staying in power, they should immediately tear up their visa and go and dump it in front of the US embassy or the Canadian embassy or whichever one, and tear up their passports because they don't need to travel. Because no country in the world has endorsed what is happening here. Not one. Not one foreign leader has congratulated this government or said anything positive about them. And by the way, when Granger is speaking of, when whoever it is that issued that statement is speaking on behalf of the government, they did well to say not the people of Guyana. They just were speaking about themselves. And so those are the inner lines of the communique that we have to look into, Leonard.
Absolutely. And
Now,
so, yes. And yes, Yog, let me go right into this here. Shortly after the U.S. imposed visa sanctions on top officials in Guyana, de facto government, Global Affairs Canada today stated they'll be using all the tools at their disposal to hold accountable elements who seek to prevent a swift conclusion to Guyana's electoral process. Canada will continue to work with partners in the international community using all the tools at their disposal to demand a swift and transparent conclusion to the election process and hold accountable all those who prevented, the statement said. Canada firmly maintains that the rule of law and democratic process must be respected and a declaration be announced without further delay in the interest of democratic rights of Guyana's electorate. And this is coming from Kaichur News as one of the breaking things. But let's go right back before I come back to Yog, because Yog is paying very, very close attention, and this would have been coming. We are going to go straight to this statement that is coming here from purportedly from the government of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. It was issued by a gentleman named Imran Khan, who reportedly is the press liaison for Moses Nagamutu. And the government regrets decision by U.S. Department of State. The executive arm of government regrets the decision taken by the United States Department of State. The matter affecting the outcome of Guyana's election is still before the courts, which is entirely the responsibility of the judiciary. No declaration has been made. The executive branch has not participated in the undermining of the electoral process and urges all countries interested in Guyana's development to await the logical conclusion of the process, which is being managed by the Elections Commission in accordance with the Constitution of Guyana. The executive arm has not interfered in the functioning of the Elections Commission. Full stop. Let me go back to that last paragraph. The executive arm has not interfered in the functioning of the Elections Commission. Full stop. Yog Mahadeo.
That is as blatant a falsification as anything false could ever be said. And, I see Gillian Lewis post. It was immediately the song on my mind, the Gillian Lewis.
What's the song?
Your hair lie? Now, I'll tell you this. No other than Mr. Granger was in front of his supporters 2 days ago disputing the importance of a CCJ decision. How can they say they are not interfering with this process when Basil Williams is making the Guyana Chronicle print headlines that are directed to Keith Lowenfield? The PNC, using the Guyana Chronicle, has said to Lowenfield, we got your back. Tell me, isn't that interference? 2 days ago, Granger said this CCJ decision, he do not believe in it. What happens 2 days later? 2 days later, their lawyers, and it's amazing the logic they're using. Their lawyers are going to the court to see if Section 22 of the election laws is legal. Now, Leonard, we went to the court, we questioned, we asked the court whether the recount was legal. You remember all of that? The courts declared that yes, the recount was legal. Now they're going back to the court to say the recount was illegal. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, they want to insist that Mingo numbers will be used. They want to go to the court to tell the court, we stole on 6th of March, and you need to muzzle the chairman. You need to muzzle everybody so that they must not say anything. They must accept that we have stolen as being the new order of the day and go on. Now, Leonard, let's put it in context with diplomacy. What is the world saying? What did the world say from day one? They are not going to accept any illegitimate government. Do they think because they blow the blow, that the U.S. and other places are going to say, oh, yeah, let's go back and get I'm trying to find a nice word here, but to get the pastor's declaration accepted, when it is the international world that helps with the recount. CARICOM sent teams here to oversee the recount. What you are now saying, this recount didn't matter because you feel the results of the recount do not suit you, and you are saying the U.S. or no other country or no Guyanese, not even us here, must have anything to say about it because you decide that must be so. You want it so. Cry, baby, cry.
Cry, baby, cry. I think that was a movie that I saw. But let's get back to it. Yog, the biggest questions that are going to be asked by the populace of Guyana would, of course, be who are the persons that are going to be on this list of sanctions? According to Kaicho News, which I'm looking at this breaking stories that they have here, is a gentleman by the name of BK. BK is this big contractor that has been reportedly been in the news, not only in this particular for the last 5 years or so, but he would have been a major contractor in the previous PPP's government, and he was said to be a very big financier of the coalition. And so let me read what the Kaicho News has here. BK among coalition financiers sanctioned by the U.S. government. Kaicho News has been reliably informed that Brian Tiwari, principal of BK Group of Companies, is among the APNU AFC financiers facing personal sanctions from the U.S. government over his support of our administration, which continues to undermine Guyana's democracy. Sanctions are to be imposed on APNU AFC government ministers, financiers, judicial officers, the Guyana's election commissions as representative, GCOM officers, family members of the offenders will also face sanctions. The sanctions ranging from terminated visas to frozen assets are expected to be imposed in phases starting from the upper echelon of the party. I must tell you, Yog, that not too long ago we would have received, and let me pull it up right here now, the U.S. Embassy, I'm going to send a copy to you there. The U.S. Embassy will tomorrow hold a virtual press briefing with the U.S. Ambassador of Guyana, Sarah Ann Lynch, to discuss the U.S. government announcement with regards to visa restrictions for some individuals responsible for and or complicit in undermining democracy in Guyana. And this is happening between 11 to 11:20. And this is important because the U.S. Embassy, the ambassador, is the representative of the U.S. government here in Guyana, and she would have the instructions as is passed on by her boss, who is our equivalent to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in the U.S. And so he has already indicated this morning, this Mike Pompeo, what the government of the United States stands is with regards to this entire process of visa revocations and other sanctions. And so she's going to be answering as far as tomorrow. So the bottom line is what is coming out. What is some conclusions that could be drawn here? It is very, very simple that the process has already started. They are going to inform the media. Questions are going to be asked, and the media and the people of Guyana and the world are going to be informed as to what exactly is happening. We are going to be looking at visa revocation. That's very, very clear. While we talking that, we understand here that similar processes are being carried out by the UK government, and we're going to try to see whether we could have a statement coming out there. But the government of Guyana is insisting, as a direct response to this, which is hotly being debated, defended by, or objected to by people who would have seen what would have transpired. But the government of Guyana is insisting that it has not interfered with the workings of the Guyana Elections Commission, neither has it interfered with any courts. We know that yesterday the chief elections officer was instructed not to say anything. And Yog, let me stop here before we talk about the court case this morning, because there's so many things that's happening. Yesterday during that meeting, there are details that is coming out now, and let me tell you what the details are. 6 commissioners were present at the GCOM headquarters in Kingston. There with Keith Lowenfield as the chief elections officer present. There also was the chairperson of the Guyana Elections Commission, Claudette Singh, and the meeting was started, and the discussion came up. We were told about this entire court case that was filed by Messenger Jones, I think it is. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And so it was right there decided that that because although there were not any orders thing, that in keeping with what would have transpired in the past, that the commission is going to comply with that. Then the issue came up as to whether about Keith Lowenfield and his compliance with the orders that was issued by the chair. And right there and then, the commissioners on the government side reportedly, and I'm saying reportedly here, that they can't participate anymore in this meeting because there is a court case. They also instructed Keith Lowenfield, reportedly again, not to say anything. They got up and walked out. Keith Lowenfield remained, 3 commissioners and the chairman there, and the commissioners on the opposition side asked Keith Lowenfield whether he is going to answer about the instructions that he was given with regards to the declaration. Keith Lowenfield, reportedly as chief elections officer, said there is not a quorum here, pressed a little more, he got up and he walked out. There was not a quorum, therefore he's not answering. That is what played out yesterday. We go to the court today. The court, during that, one of the things that struck me, Dr. Mahadeo, is that during the court case this morning, the Chief Justice made it very clear that she's in charge. This after there was an interjections and crosstalk. Maybe we could come to you and then you could tell us a little bit that. But what is made very clear that there was an application by one of the respondents, this is the Attorney General Office, for some orders which was heavily objected to by lawyers who is saying, but wait a minute, Yog Mahadeo, you are the respondent, and how come you're asking, you're supposed to be neutral, how come you're asking for orders? Over to you, Yog.
Thank you. Leonard, let's quickly go back to what you said earlier. When 3 commissioners walked out and Lowenfield then felt that there was no quorum. That is not how quorums work. As long as a meeting gets going, the meeting can continue if persons leave the meeting. And so I believe, look, I honestly believe that the chairman has allowed this man to get away with everything possible. I don't know what else would happen because he's obviously not going to put himself in a position where he has to do the right thing. Lowenfield has obviously selected to be in the corner of sin, in the corner of wrongdoing, to cheat Guyanese voters of their rightful and lawfully cast votes at these last elections. So Lowenfield is not going to put himself in any position where he can do the decent thing. And the chairman needs to recognize that. So the other point, Leonard, it was another moment of embarrassment for law in Guyana this morning when the Attorney General was told you were supposed to be neutral, but you have obviously taken a side. Now, he shamelessly said, I am the upholder of the Constitution, and his party, his president is breaching that Constitution every single day, Leonard. They're in breach of the Constitution. They're stealing and going to beg the court to allow us that on a point of law, allow us to steal, because the law doesn't say we can't, therefore we can. Let me repeat that. A lot of these people feel that because the law is silent that you cannot, it means you can. So they're not illegal, which means that they're legal. That is the basis of immorality that has resided in no other than the seat of the presidency of this country, Leonard. The immorality that resides in the seat of the president. And not only now, you check from 1964, come right down. What has been happening? Immorality stalks the corridor of power. And they look at Guyanese and they lie in your face. This morning was a moment of shame. But you know what? I believe these people are beyond the shame. They're beyond shame. Because to be told as an attorney general, you're supposed to be neutral, but you are going to ask the court to put a stay, to impose injunction on one party. Which party side you were on, it was obvious to this nation. Leonard, we knew which side he was on. He has been playing this game from day one. This country would do well to remember his words when he went to the CCJ in the first case, the 33, in their mind not being a majority of 65. This country would do well to remember his words about Guyana being a pariah state, and he should put pariah state on his shirt and wear it as a garland. He and Granger and his cabal should wear a pariah state as a garland around their necks, because this is what they have subject this country to, Leonard. These people are shameless. They're going in front of the courts and saying things like this. And he's supposed to be upholding, and he said, I am upholding the Constitution. I am sorry, you are voted out of power because you have no right and you have no shame in you. You are voted out and you do not uphold the Constitution. It is obvious every single day by your regurgitation. You're vomiting all over the pages of the Guyana rag. Every single day you're showing this country you are not the upholder of the Constitution. You're the upholder of the PNC's views, and you should wear that garland around your neck every day. I'm sorry, Leonard, but Guyanese are going through too much at this stage.
Thank you very much, Yog. What are some of the big things other than the judge making it very clear, this is my court? She put on her foot this morning and she said, this is my court. I'm not going to tolerate that. We know that the case continues on Friday. I think she very in keeping with what we would have seen in the past. We expect the Chief Justice to within hours to issue her decision with regards to that. And so when there were attempts to talk about jurisdiction, she said, no. On Friday, that is the matter for that. So she said it out very clearly. They're going to have specific times and in keeping with what she would have done in the past. If that happens on Friday, we could expect a decision as early as Saturday, maybe Sunday. So over the weekend, we're going to expect that decision. So let's see what happens. But it's in keeping with her work more than everything and the importance of this entire elections that is happening. So we have to keep that because there's that very real scenario, Yog, in which while let's assume, and we have to talk scenarios here because people are interested in timeline, if it is that the coalition is not going to comply or they're saying that we're not paying attention to what the U.S. is doing, we're going to continue. The court is hearing the matter, let it continue. After the court case and the court does not rule in their favor, there's a possibility which we'd have to look at the Court of Appeal and then maybe all the way up to the Caribbean Court of Justice. Last evening, Selvin Peters was here with Charandas in room 592, and one of the questions asking, what are we looking out for? And I think Selvin Peters says, well, the Caribbean Court of Justice made that very clear, that they cannot, from the inception, refuse to look at the case. If the case is presented to them, they'd have to look at the merits and then make the decision based on that. So we're looking at the timeline. Based on the timeline that we're looking to, if the coalition does not buckle under this pressure that is happening right now, we headed into maybe next week, the other week. So let us get ready. It's not going to be over. This is not over by far. But I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Leonard, before to the CCJ, look, one of the things that Guyanese, there are a few things that we can be proud of. And Madam Roxanne George's management of her court, it was a proud moment. And I'm not saying this because she slapped some of the things down and put them in their place per se. I'm saying this because of the way she managed whatever was coming from whomever. So one would recall that attorneys for the PPPC would have said, well, I need more than the 15 minutes. And she basically said, whatever it is you have to present, if it cannot be presented in 15 minutes, it might not be worth presenting because this matter is very straight and narrow. One of the surprising things was that there was a request early on to her, which I almost, from my own layman's perspective, I laughed aloud because the applicant's attorney was saying, well, what everybody else doing here? How can they be here or how can they all be here? That is just going to prolong the process and we need to speed up this matter. Well, yeah, you want to speed up the matter, we know, right? But she put that down immediately saying, well, who can I ask to leave? Everybody has a right and everybody has a vested interest here. So it was a good lesson to the Guyanese public. And this does not go to whatever her decision or however she's going to question whatever presentation is made to her. And the other thing, of course, was when the Attorney General requested that, that GCOM should probably be injuncted or be stayed in terms of restraint from what they can or cannot do. You know what, Leonard, as somebody who is the head of the court there, she could have easily said something that, I agree or let me think about it or something, but she did not. She allowed the other parties to present their thoughts, and she said rightly, listen, Miss Kim Kite said what she had to say, and her client has never acted in any, opposing. That's what Kim Kite said. So the Chief Justice, Madam Chief Justice Roxanne George, AG, would have did an excellent display of a good manager, legalese aside, a good manager that did not allow people to usurp her authority, and at the same time did not allow people to waste her time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Yog, we are going to be back and forth because this is a developing, this is an evolving situation which overlaps each other. So we are going to look, one of the big questions that people are asking, who are the people that are involved here? I understand that a prominent lawyer, we're not going to call names now because I rather, let's think, one of them that we know that reportedly has come to us based on a report from Kaichor News here is BK Tiwari, Ban Tiwari, not unexpected. He has been very close to the coalition. He's also, I think, a diplomat too, because he has some connections with Spain. I think he's the Consul General representing Spain to Guyana, I think it is. So I'm not sure what kind of impact this is going to have on all of that. One of the lawyers has some connection. His name has not come out as yet. He was one of them that was involved with the 33 is greater than 32 is greater than 33 scenario. So I think he has operations as overseas and in the U.S. as well. So I'm not sure what kind of impact this is going to have. All these are questions that are going to be put to the U.S. Embassy tomorrow to Ambassador Sarah Ann Lynch by the media. This should be put rather. And so let us see what comes out. But based on our information, it's the entire cabinet of the coalition that has been named in this list. It's about 17 names we've been told. 17 names that has been announced. Keith Lowenfield is on that list, we are told. Brian Tiwari is on that list. And then, of course, there is going to be some spin-offs from that with the family and so. But let's look at the particular list. Headed the list is President David Granger, Prime Minister Moses Nagamoto, Camarade Ramzatan. I think Rupert Rupenrai name is on that, and there's a couple. There's those others that were part of the cabinet. So they're looking at the upper echelon of the coalition right there and then. I think Raphael Trotman and a couple of others would be there as well. So we are going to have a confirmation about this tomorrow, and this is going to affect the entire thing. I think we could probably have answers to whether rumors are truth. As to, we say rumors now because it's not confirmed, that bank accounts have already been frozen. Now, this is not something that's totally unexpected. Americans, the U.S. Secretary of State would have indicated since about a week back that, look, I've instructed my department, the Department of State, start looking at those people who should be held accountable, responsible for thwarting the will of the people. And so what you have happening here is, as a result of his department being instructed, that you actually seeing this. So for him to announce this today, and we have to put that in the background, never in the history, I can't remember doing my little history that I did, Yog, that we've seen this happening in the Caribbean. Maybe Venezuela has it very clear, and we understand the reasons for that. But for a country like Guyana, a British country like Guyana, where the entire administration, the transitionary administration, has been placed on sanctions like this. And we could say sanctions has already been placed. That much was made clear by one of the most powerful men in the United States government today. So that is where it's at. So the court case continues on Friday. The judge is making it very clear she's standing for no nonsense. And what we see would have come out of there, if you missed it, is that there was an attempt to make an application to have the process stayed, and so the judge is making it very clear that not the judge, persons objected it, lawyers, that wait a minute, you're the respondent as the Attorney General. How come you're asking? Are you siding with this person who has filed for it? So I think it is being viewed that the Attorney General Basil Williams and his entire ministry there would have come out, shown their hand, if you will, with regards to where they stand in this entire process. It would contradict what government would have issued that statement not too long ago. Look, we have no hand in this court case. We have not directed what is happening at GCOM, and therefore, this is very unfortunate that the U.S. would take a particular stance with sanctions at the moment, Yoga. So we have to put it all in context when we are looking at what is happening. And meanwhile, the United Kingdom government is reportedly working, although they have not issued a statement that we've seen. What we do know is that they would have had a similar process started already. I think it's only a matter of time before they come out. Canada is making it clear that it is using whatever tools that they have at their disposal. And when you talk about that, you're talking sanctions too. So that is already made very clear. I think it's only a matter of time before these countries come down. But there's one other important issue that I must bring to the table. When you see the U.S. and other people make sanctions like this, because we fall within the region, it would not come without the U.S. and so conferring, having conversations with the leaders of CARICOM. I was told that they would inform them that this is happening, and maybe there would be some approvals at that stage. Do we know how it all works?
In terms of Leonard, in terms of the names and the numbers and the family members, you got to look at the entire, or we have to look at the entire picture, Leonard. And in terms of them identifying who and what and where and how. But if you don't mind, Leonard, can we just take a step back? Because I want to remind everybody here that what Mr. Gildarie read just now is a sad day for Guyana. Nobody is happy that the U.S. has had to make the statements it made. No true Guyanese would be happy that all of this has to happen. But Leonard, what we can be happy about is that people are putting their foot down, and those who are responsible for perverting justice, those who are responsible for wanting to steal these elections, they are going to be held responsible for their actions. And Leonard, one of our viewers on this current Facebook feed that we have, Mr. Troy Garnett. Troy, my brother, you represent what is wrong in this country. Leonard, Troy has basically said that we want somebody else in power because Granger is, I'm not going to get into the kind of terms he's using. And Troy, it was the people of this country that put Granger in government. I don't know if y'all think something else happened, or if, Troy, you are now saying that y'all rigged to get into power in 2015, because obviously that seems to be happening here, Leonard. But Troy, for you to say that people want to rape this country, sir, you need to look at what your leaders are doing and have for the past 5 years. Go on.
My apologies. I didn't say anything. Go ahead, Yog.
No, so yeah, the issue here, Leonard, is the Kool-Aid seems to have a deleterious effect on people, and we are not being objective. Now, nobody here, neither Leonard or I, Nakaito News, Stabrook News, whatever news you're looking at, we are not calling for anybody to be given power. What we are asking is that the will of the electorate must be respected regardless of who's the winner. Regardless of who's the winner, people have a fundamental human right to their vote. And this cabal wants to ensure that that right is burnt, that the ballot boxes are destroyed. And Leonard, this same set of people, up to 2 days ago, were saying what? Valid votes matter. Mm-hmm. Now they're going back to Mingo's statement where he built, dreamed up, whatever word you want to use. He created 15,000 votes that not even existing in the boxes. These votes don't exist. The voters don't exist. But that is what they want to embrace. And for Granger to want to embrace something like that and take power on such a thing speaks to what he is as well. Leonard, if you accept stolen fruit, you are a thief. You know it's stolen, and you aided and abetting the thieving and the stealing and everything that is going on. If anybody backs any position where our votes must be destroyed, then you are as worse as anybody else that probably is in jail, because you want to remove our fundamental right, the right to vote. And that cannot be countenanced, Leonard. That is nowhere acceptable. And you know why these sanctions are coming? Because of that basic right, Leonard. Guyana is part of a UN agreement. There is a worldwide universal covenant that we have to respect people's right to vote. There is a UN charter of which Guyana is part. So for any other country in the world to stand by idly while Guyana and Granger wants to burn 115,000 of our votes, it means they're all aiding and abetting a breach of the UN Charter. They're not going to allow this. Let the Blow Brigade, let Mr. and Mrs. Blow tell me which country has backed them to do the illegalities they're doing. Name one. Not Russia even. Not Cuba has come out with a word backing them. Not a single country has come out backing them, Leonard. So I don't know what they have going. And you know, when I look at that sad picture of the birthday party in progress, it depicts a real sad reality of Guyana.
There's a birthday party?
or something. It's a birthday something. But I see everybody with their hand in their head and looking down at their feet. I don't know what's going on there.
You bad boy. But let me tell you, if there's a thing, there's a breaking news that's coming out here, and I'm holding a very straight face. APNU FC is seeking a judicial review by the Court of Appeals to interpret the statement of Mike Pompeo. Pompeo sets restrictions on visa. They're not sure whether he meant visas, valid visas, invalid visas, immigrant visas, on issued visas. They're seeking clarification on whether immediate family includes side chicks. Sorry, I'm going to stop right there. They're disappointed that the Secretary of State has been so vague in his announcement. But you must put a smile on everybody's face. It's very serious, but to come back to what would have been thing. This is a situation that this country, anybody who's right thinking, if you're Guyanese and you love this country to death, that you would want to fight for it and you would want to see your children and grandchildren and mother and father, live a life that's peaceful, happy, and we should be able to benefit from our oil and natural resources, would be wishing that this is a juncture that we would never or should never be. And anybody who has taken us to this place, this dismal place, this dark place, should never be in government, never have a right to be in government. It is a very bad place. It is a place that we should all be ashamed of. There's no two ways about that. And anybody who wants to disagree with that, be the first one to tear up your visa if you have it, and go in front of the U.S. Embassy, call Culture News, and we're going to be there to take your pictures because you have taken a stance, maybe a principled stance, that is, something that we might not agree with, but we would admire you for that. So let's be the first one. If you're living in the United States and you are attacking Guyanese, Yog Mahadeo, myself, Kaicho Radio, boycott Kaicho News, boycott Kaicho Radio, be the first one to give up your permanent, come back here, tear it up. You need to protest the United States for taking this thing. Go in front of the White House and do it and say that I'm burning my U.S. passport and I'm coming back on a plane. And you could ask the Guyana government to put you on a plane and bring you back. So these are things that is going to prove to the people of the world, to the people of Guyana, that you're indeed sincere. And it's a principled stand. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, indeed. And Leonard, let me repeat what you said, because for emphasis, it is important. All those who are supportive, Mr. Lupa, all of you who are supportive of whatever Granger is doing at this moment, please tear up your passport, give up your right, all your family, whoever they are, whichever country they are living in, please tell them to give it all up and come back, because why are you guys not all living in Guyana under Lord and Master Granger? Why are you not living here under the same conditions like every one of us have to live under? So let everybody give up your visas and and if you have a credit card, break it up, cut it up, because you can't use it. And why are you using to buy anything from the U.S.? Why are you buying anything from any other country? Give it all up, man. Let us not be sanctimonious. Let us be real. If you believe that the visa revocation is going to do nothing, or if you believe that the U.S. has no right to do so, please be our guests. Tear up your visa, tear up your green card, tear up your whatever travel permits you have, because you know what will happen, Leonard? That this morning I saw one of them posting to say, well, we don't need a visa, we don't need CARICOM, we got Cuba and we got Russia. Well, they're going to get a plane that is going to fly straight from here to Russia, and when they get to Russia, they got to rush right back, because Russia is also going to impose sanctions against them. Do you think after they accuse Russia of meddling in these elections, Russia is going to want these meddlers to be meddling in Russian elections? I mean, you look on one hand what's the Russian president's name again?
Putin.
Sorry?
Vladimir Putin.
Yes, I don't know how I forget it. I'm sorry, Mr. Putin. But Mr. Putin has extended his stay in office, and he will be there until he's 80-something years old. He has extended his stay in office, and if you want to look, PNC should probably really take lessons from the man. as to how to stay in office and stay in office with the will of the people rather than try to steal the will of the people and pervert justice.
Well, Yog, so if you're now joining us, this is elections and COVID-19 watch here, and the people has gotten us so taken up by elections that we keep forgetting. We've gone past the 300 numbers, and as we speak right now, there are a number of cases that would have risen in the intensive care unit. We pray for those people, and we hope that they recover, and we ask you as our people to make sure that you protect yourself. This is a time when we should show love to each other. It has pulled these elections, and COVID-19 has served as a stark reminder of our mortality and what we should do as a people. It has taught us how to appreciate what we have. So let us ensure that we protect ourselves so we can become a little stronger in dealing what is to come. And what is to come, we have lots of decisions that has to be made in the development of this country. Now is a time. It has reminded us that we are in charge of our destinies, and we have to tell our leaders that we could expect nothing less. Whoever go in there, whether it's Irfan Ali or David Granger, however it goes, we have to be the one who's starting to demand that our people, our leaders, that they deliver what it is that we want as the employers. So let's get it right there. So COVID-19, people, let us look at some of the protection that has been advised to us under the COVID-19 regulations. Let us ensure that we wear a mask, stay 6 feet. Let us until we could such a time that we could overcome this, because overcome we will. So Yog, you could also get us here on Kaicho Radio, on Facebook, on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Kaicho News Online as well. So Yog, we are going to be talking just a little wrap up as to what would have happened today. There was a court case. The court case continues on Friday, but the story that has overtaken this entire court case is the announcement by the U.S. today that it has slapped sanctions on several leaders of the coalition, persons who would have been financing them, as well as some legal folks who would have been singing the tune, carrying the narrative of this entire elections, that they have won the elections, which the recount, as well as the count from March the 2nd, would have shown clearly that the opposition is in the lead, and therefore Irfan Ali is the next president of Guyana. The coalition has refused to, by virtue of acts that were taken by their supporters, one or two of them gone to court, walkouts by the chief election officer, who's clearly cited, given up all pretense of when it comes to doing his duty, a statutory duty as an officer of the Guyana Elections Commission. He has thrown all that aside, and he's saying clearly to his bosses at the Guyana Elections Commission that I am not listening to you. You could do whatever you want, takes whatever decisions that you want, but he uses whatever excuses when it's convenient to him to do whatever he feels like. He's a boss unto himself. Well, let us see what happens here. You have been named, based on the initial report, this is Keith Lowenfield, as one of the persons with sanctions has been brought by the United States, and the UK is apparently working on the same thing, and Canada apparently. So we are going to see how this develops. Yoga, the U.S. Embassy tomorrow is to meet based on our reports with the local media to inform them or give them a little more details as to this decision with sanctions, visa revocations, etc., that they've taken. And so that's what we have at the moment.
I just learned something. I didn't know this, and I don't know if, if you do, but I am informed that there is a visa cancellation policy between the U.S. and Canada, so that if your U.S. visa gets revoked, your Canadian access is immediately revoked as well. So that is interesting.
I didn't know that. That's something we'd have to look at. I guess this is one of the questions that would have to be asked tomorrow of the U.S. Ambassador Sarah Ann Lynch. And all this, so you got to remember, is unprecedented. Never in the history of this country have we been subjected to this. Have we experienced this? I'm not sure. Maybe we would have been reading about Venezuela as to what has happened in there. I think there's a story that came out today with regards to their oil because of how difficult it is. The sanctions that were in place on them, even attempting to ship out the oil on tankers, they've made it so difficult that even the tankers are not going to find it financially feasible to go pick up the oil from Venezuela and take it elsewhere because of how the workings with the insurance and so would have been thing. They've made it virtually impossible. They've literally blocked every exit in which you could do any financial transactions. So imagine if you own any property in the United States, you can't have access to it. That's one. You can't travel to that country. That's two. Three, your bank accounts are frozen. Your children, whatever it is that they are living there, and they would have had benefits from you or so, they could also see accounts being blocked, a whole bunch of stuff that could happen. Then this is only the first phase. We're looking at the other phases, assuming that this thing continue. They are going to block our trade with countries, with the United States. Let's say the ABC and EU country instituted. You can't do any kind of business with them. And so where are some of the options? You probably might be left with Cuba, Venezuela, Russia, you said, China. India ain't going to play ball because they are, I think, they're affiliated with the West. So it's only about 4 countries, and I think you discounted. Cuba has not come out and say anything. Russia might definitely, because of the stance they would have taken. They've been accused of interfering in the elections. Not likely that Putin is going to come and say that, look, I am in empathy with you, and therefore let's go in this direction. So it is, the walls are closing in very, very quickly. On the coalition here very, very quickly, and there are very little options.
Yeah, don't forget that there is a Russian embassy in Guyana, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So when accusations were made about the Russians being involved, it was a direct punch to the Russian embassy. I mean, these were accusations made by senior government officials, no other than a minister of public security who holds a portfolio as a vice president. So a vice president tells a resident embassy that you interfered and your people have interfered with these elections is no small thing. We got to see how that will play out. I just want to remind everybody, you remember when we had Mr. Greg Quinn a little while back, and he spoke to sanctions and so forth. I want to remind everybody that there has been a pause or a suspension of funding from Norway. Remember that funding, Leonard?
Mm-hmm.
There was a suspension of that funding from Norway. There has been suspension of EU and UK funding, especially with regards to the road between Linden and Mabura and the Kurupukari Bridge. I think they were trying to get funding for the Lethem to Linden Road. All those things are now totally stopped. And I can't remember which one of our viewers would have said this. My apologies for not recognizing your name, but one of our viewers said clearly that, you know what this cabal has achieved? The cabal in 3.5 years has achieved the bankrupting Guyana. That's what they have achieved. And they have achieved in 3.5 years. Well, it's now 5 years since they stole that NCM decision even. Yes, Sanjay Khan, excellent point that the current government has left after 5 years, they have made Guyana broke, and they have now made Guyana into pariah state, a rogue state, a state that is now attracting sanctions from other states in the country. This is what they have done to this country, Leonard. That is a terrible position to be in, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is. And so we are going to continue to bring you the updates as we have them. Right now, because we want to hear from the people yesterday, unfortunately, because of the developing stories, could I have a copy of that? Sorry. So let us go straight to the front page of the Kiteshore News. I think this is July the 15th. President's office denies attempt to remove Claudette Singh, condemns Nanlal's sanctimonious gangster comment. And this is the president's office says that is not making any decisions or any move to remove the chairperson, Claudette Singh, from her position. This is a constitutional body. And so you move down to the main headline in Kiteshore Radio here. Low and Field refuses to submit report again, walks out of meeting with government commissioners, your big boy commissioner, chief elections officer. He walked out. He told your boss, go to hell. That is what he has done. And then, of course, you would have seen there's a picture here with like a coffin. It looks like some small coffin. Respect the GCOM chair. That these persons here would have, they said they're coalition protesters, and they had a small coffin that was produced with an effigy that protesters referred to as the Guyana Elections Commission chairperson. You know, we could make jokes and we could do a lot of stuff. All is fair in love and wire. But guess what? When it comes to showing respect and things like that, this has been like a recurring theme, a recurring decimal, I think Yog would say. That seems to be happening in every other election. You don't agree with Yog? Let's do up a picture of him and burn it, or maybe make a doll out of him and stick 2 needles into it. So, arson suspected as building satellite in regions 2 and 10. Coalition deliberately misrepresented clear judgment of the CCJ. This is Jagdeo as the General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, Civic. All post-election contracts must be rescinded. Former presidential advisor Suriname's about to say to transfer power to new president. This is interesting because they would have held the elections after Guyana. Trinidad is going to hold their elections. So let us see whether we could raise them to declare a new president before they do. U.S. squeezes Venezuela oil by pressuring maritime companies. We did discuss this story, Yog. Dominica PM, and this is one of our regional leaders, calls for an end to political situation in Guyana. Another legal showdown over elections declaration. Chief Justice to hear case at 10 a.m. today, and we would have had a discussion on that. Yog, so it is all happening here today when it comes to elections, and this is something, you know, I'm extremely tired, Yog. It has been, it has been 100. Yes, Yog.
I have a question for you. I want to go back to something you would have shared earlier. That, you know, I mean, it was said in jest, and in jest, I want to ask you this question, my brother. Do you think that any one of the persons in APNO AFC is probably going to go to the court to have the court explain to them what does the word valid visa mean?
I think it was a joke that somebody just sent there.
I know it's a joke, but you know what else can we do? These things are so serious. We gotta sometimes make light of it. Do you think they would probably go to court and say to the court, can you please instruct the U.S. that they have no right to take away my visa? If we are today going to the court to tell the court, and tonight we will deal with this in Room 592, we are going to the court to tell the court to strike down a section of the law of Guyana, to declare a section of the laws of Guyana, Section 22, to declare it as illegal to be there and of no import, and it should not have been there at all. And so allow us to strike down that section of the law so we can go back and declare with our stealing fruit. You know, so if they can go to court to say strike down a particular clause in the laws of Guyana, then what else can we not expect? Because this will get to us. And I tell you what, by tomorrow, the BBBs are going to... sorry?
Who's the BBBs? I'm getting a little lost with all the translation here now.
The brigade, the BBBs.
Okay. Yeah. My apologies, man.
Yeah, the BBBs are going to now be hitting our social media. Everybody's social media is going to be hit with this thing now, you know, tomorrow about Section 22 is illegal and that law is bad and should not have been in it. Today and tomorrow. And today, NCN taxpayers' money was being used to spew this nonsense over our public airway. This is what NCN has free spectrum for, you know. So when people think, well, they're earning their money from NCN, I want to know how much money NCN paying for the spectrum to share that crap across this country. So, Leonard, this thing, I mean, we can get irritated at it, but sometimes you got to ease the tension, because I could see Mr. Upholder of the Constitution going and say, but Your Honor, they have no right to take away my visa. I got my visa out of the due process of application, and I got my visa because I believe I deserve one. And who are they to tell me I don't deserve one? I could actually see Mr. Upholder of Constitution doing that, Leonard.
Um, uh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Or alternatively, there may be letters being written to JJ and BLLC to say, listen, file a court case in the court of the United States of America to stop them from stopping us from traveling. File a case. They can't take away our visa. We are the government of Guyana. You know, we got 15,000 dead and resurrected voters, and Mingoized numbers voted for us, so they can't do this to us. Who dare to bring sanctions? I can see that happening. In fact, Mr. JJB, Mr. Fisher might have received a letter already.
I'm interested in Yog, and maybe this is something that could probably come up in room 592. If you're living in the United States and you have a citizen, let's say that you're a citizen there, or you're from Guyana, you would have either have gotten it through the naturalization process, or you were born there. But the United States government has come out and they've taken a particular stance with regards to a country. And you're the one that is joining with the renegade, with the rogue elements who are in direct contradiction to what the U.S. is saying. Could the U.S. Take action against one of their own for taking that stance that is against U.S. policies?
Yes, Leonard. Look, how many people were deported? People who were deported were not people who were just there as visitors and they hide. There are people who went through, who got their rights. But if you're going to breach whatever laws and whatever policies of any government, the government can determine, unless you're born there, then you have a different right. The government will determine that you are acting, opposite to what their rules and what their beliefs are. And so that's something they would have to look at. But Leonard, to your point, you see, my friend, you raised the question. I am sure they have some lawyer there running to the court to file a thing, and then then you dare to do this on today? I mean, how dare you do it on a day like today?
What is today? What is today?
Today is your birthday, isn't it?
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. You buy me a cake?
Well, no, you will get a state cake.
Talk about that. I have an issue. I see you posting up cake and then you're tagging me in it as if I should be jealous about that. But, the elections are going to be over sometime or the other. Payback is...
my darling wife, Anita, she is insistent that, that I have been too skinny. And so she wants to add more and more pounds to me. And she keeps baking these marvelous things every day. So all I can do is tell you, watch and weep. Because, social distancing. And my brother, please observe social distancing. I don't want you to come on. And let me just say this, Leonard. 2 days ago, when you asked me what happened over the weekend, I did say that I got Ashley, a brand new person welcome into our home. Ashley is not a newborn baby. I need to receive some congratulatory messages saying we got a new baby. Ashley is probably 20-something years old, but she has joined our family. As everybody who knows me knows that I'm very open and our family is open. So Ashley is a new member of the Mahadeo family. But that being said, Leonard, back to the day. Happy birthday, my brother.
Thank you very much. And I must say that, if this wasn't such a serious affair, we would be making laughs with our people, but it is a very serious time. We are ashamed of what has been transpiring, and this is something that we should commit ourselves never to ever allow any government, anybody to do this again. You don't have any rights to be calling yourself a Guyanese if you do that to the people of Guyana. And this is something, I know that there are going to be attacks. We are accustomed to that. Man called me last night and the man says, be careful, double your security down at Culture News. And I told him, if God is giving you life and he's the one who decides when you go, who am I to do anything else? You still be careful, but it is what it is. So I'm not afraid. They are going to bring it on. They're going to probably dig something. I can't remember if I have anything hidden in my closet, but I lost some rare coin sometime or the other. If you dig in, I hope that you find it. But we have to start loving this country. It's something that I can't say enough. Let us, let us be very, very clear that there are going to be some people who are going to stand up and fight for this country. Tomorrow morning, there may be a new government in place. It might be Irfan Ali, and Irfan Ali should know very, very clearly that as far as Gildarie is concerned, and I think I could speak on behalf of Mr. Glenn Lal. If you out there, Mr. Glenn Lal, and listening, a good day to you, sir. Hats off to you. We are not going to stop what we've been doing. The spotlight is going to come down on the new government, and they have to deliver, and they have to deliver. They have to work hard. They have to see what the people want, and they have to listen, because there is going to be another elections, but we're not going to allow anybody to do what has been done to the people over the last 18 months. I think it's almost 20 months since that March the 21st, 2018, no confidence motion. Our people has literally been left in limbo, Yog. And I can't even begin to tell you what that has meant in terms, if you're talking Gaisuko, and when people strike and you don't get to work, I think you refer to that as opportunities lost. Opportunities lost, and we would have lost a lot of opportunities. And I think one of the biggest thing that we were not able to pay attention to is our oil industry, our oil and gas industry, to be able to have the debates that are needed on that, so we could move this country forward and capitalize on our 15 to 20 billion barrels of oil that's there, and the gas that is being burned up right now by ExxonMobil. We should be having a conversation how these companies could pay us back for that. As of now, we can't have a conversation that, because some people are so greedy to get into office that they're willing to throw the entire country's future, its place among the rest of the world, into jeopardy, and they're not listening. And these are things, while we have a few followers, and you know what is so sad about this, Yog? We have people, decent Guyanese people, who don't have access maybe to the other side of the story, and they grew up and they're being told one side that our APNU AFC coalition, they've taken the stance here, and it is the correct stand, and they're listening to that. I'm saddened for those people who don't have an opportunity to hear the other side of the story, which is that you are gonna feel the effects of anything that come, because regardless what happens, it's going to be a ripple effect if we decide to walk the road that they are going at the moment. So that is worrying in itself.
Indeed, it is worrying, Leonard, and we got to be very clear. And let me use this opportunity to call out Peter Brown. Peter, don't post any racist things here. If you don't like what we are discussing, be gone. Be gone in peace. Go in peace. Nobody here, we are not, and we have never, we will never propose, propagate any superiority of one set of persons over the other because of any reason. Everybody's equal under Guyana's laws, but certain, like your government, has forgotten that everybody is equal and everybody ought to be treated equally in Guyana's laws. So you can fight your visa all you want, and you can do anything you want, but keep it out of our quarters here. Don't insult and don't bring your racism here. Go in peace, my brother.
Thank you very much for that, Yog. And there's some breaking news here. But before we do that, Yog, you tell everybody it's my birthday. It's not my birthday today. My birthday is still in December. And everybody wishing me happy birthday. But thank you very much. I do appreciate it. It has shown a lot of love from our people here. But breaking news now, U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee supports sanctions on Guyana. The U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee has thrown the support behind the State Department's move to impose sanctions on key officials in the de facto Granger administration for their role in electoral fraud. That's a story that's coming out from Kaichur News at the moment. Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman James Risch, I am not, I hope I'm pronouncing it, or Rick, tweeted just moments ago, I applaud State Department's actions today to hold accountable Guyanese officials who undermined democracy and delayed results in Guyana's March elections. The senator added it's just past time Guyanese authorities begin a democratic transition of power that reflects the confirmed results. And this is coming from the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee, or equivalent to what we would have in our parliament here, if there's such thing that's functioning. So, Yog, it is all piling up. The pressure is mounting. And if you're paying attention, Representative, knowing what it is that the people are being subjected to because of a few arrogant and very selfish leaders that we have here, well, start paying attention, because these are very harsh words, and it's a reflection or an indication of what is to come. And as early as tomorrow, we're supposed to know. What we do know so far is that several leaders within the coalition, including the president who's celebrating or is observing his birthday today, 75th birthday, that on his birthday, 75th birthday, something that he's not going to forget in a hurry, that our country is being handed, or the leaders of his coalition is being handed several sanctions, starting visa revocations, among other things, and it is going to extend to their families. We are going to see, I think as early as tomorrow, we are going to have a confirmation that bank accounts were frozen as well. So that's where we're at. Yog, how important is the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee to this whole scheme of things?
It is extremely important, and it is good in a way to see that foreign committee make their statement immediately after Mike Pompeo would have made his, because remember, everything basically got to go to the Foreign Affairs Committee and the people who look at foreign affairs, foreign relations, foreign policy, and all of that. So it is important that statement. Leonard, I wish to suggest to you, as a brother of mine, you use a word just now that I take umbrage to. So I wish to suggest to you that when you are referring to certain politicians in Guyana, do not refer to them as leaders, because people who are leaders will lead, will not mislead, will not be lying to people to their faces. Just my humble suggestion, my brother.
My mother taught me differently. She said to respect your elders. So I must disagree.
Be respectful, but they're politicians. All they're doing is stealing power and wanting to steal power. But is this leadership for Guyana? Is this leadership for the Guyanese people? Is this leadership that makes Guyana looks good all over the world? I beg not.
Well, let's see what happens there. I'm going to respect my mother's wishes and be respectful and be the little nice boy that she expects me to be. God bless her soul. So we want to hear from the people. We've talked a lot. I think I'm a little overwhelmed, though, Yog. This is something, again, I want to reiterate, is something that I wish that our country should never be in. It is what it is, but if this is what it takes to bring about changes, so be it. 226-7453, 226-7453. We want to hear from you people. And of course, please text us on 62222. Do not call us on 62222 because we can't take the calls on that. You'd have to text us on, call us on 226-7453. Until GT&T decide to come give us some other lines, we're stuck with that one number. There's a call line? Yes. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Your volume, please.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
Could you lower your radio, please? You'll have to take off your radio or lower it.
Yes. Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
One thing I would like to advise you two guys, I hear a lot of people, they're making some negative comments, but I think the two of y'all, Mr. Yog and you all need to be vigilant, because as people normally talk, you all could get set up with certain comments So I think you need to have self-control. Don't fight fire with fire. But it's a good thing Mr. Yog doing, identifying these ones that bringing up racial thing. But the next thing I want to ask also, this is with Exxon. How we doing now? Is Exxon drying oil? I would like to know that. And I am always hearing that some country that Exxon normally draw oil, like for instance Africa, what they do, they manipulate these politicians so that they could be warring. And why is the war going on? It's like the cat away and the mice playing. While the war going on between these people, they full in the belly full, dry in the belly full with these oil. And the next thing, I have a tenant, and if that tenant destroy anything in my property, that tenant have to compensate me for what he destroyed. I don't know if it's true, but I'm hearing that, say for instance, Exxon have a disaster in Guyana, and Exxon would use their money to clean up that disaster. Then I am hearing that they would bring that receipt to Guyana and we have to pay for that. Is that true? And if that is true, who is this politician that signed for that deal? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yogi, you want to try that one?
Well, the last one first. Yes, it is true. And the going back, you identify rightly, sir, the core of the matter is the contract, the contractual agreement that has been entered into with the oil companies. Mind you, this is not just Exxon. Exxon is drilling. And to answer your question specifically, yes, these people invested their money in the oil rigs and invested their money in everything. So they continue to draw the oil. They continue to get their economic benefits out of Guyana. The problem is Guyana cannot get its portion. Guyana cannot get its revenue because it is stuck overseas. And the banks are not going to release it because if the government is illegal or illegitimate, then they cannot release it to an illegitimate party. With regards to the signatories to the oil contracts, here is where the point is, sir. Guyana needs to have transparency. We need to check these contracts are locked away between the privacy of certain ministers and former ministers of government. And Guyanese have not been able to really read through the fine print as they ought to. And so the problem is we all, I have personally said previous to the elections that whichever party promises me that they are going to open those contracts up for public scrutiny, they are going to renegotiate if that is what the people want, I will give that political party my support. I remember asking APNU AFC operatives, and Leonard, you would remember one of the APNU AFC operatives said to us, a bad deal is better than no deal. I don't know how come we start to say things like that, because I grew up as an accountant knowing no deal is better than a bad deal. So to your point, sir, I am unable, but I'm sure that I'm unable to answer the question specifically as to who signed that contract. But guess what? The representative would have always signed on behalf of the government of Guyana. So at the end of the day, Exxon is not going to take the contract, or they're not going to take a minister to court. They're taking a government to court, pretty much like the telecoms contract. So it's a problem we have as a people of Guyana. When that bill, God forsake, we never would get it. But if such a bill was to be handed to Guyana, is every man, woman, and child in this country has to pay as taxpayers. Government don't generate revenues. Government don't generate monies. Government make money by taxing people, by getting profits out of natural resources that are being exploited by private investors like Exxon. That's how governments make money. And well, presently they're just stealing it all because they're earning their own salaries. So I think that addressed two of the questions. The first question, of course, your point is noted, sir, and yes, we'll continue to identify those who want to abuse public space. I have not, and I do not post things of any particular nature on my Facebook page. Yesterday, for example, I shared that video, that horrible video where people were making or using an effigy of whoever they thought it was. I'm not going to repeat it because it's offensive. They were posting, there's a video of an effigy being stomped upon. Now, here is what, I don't have a problem. If you want to worship in a particular way, that's your freedom of worship. You worship however you want to worship. I have no problem with your worship. What I have a problem with is any act that will incite hate or harm, any act that will motivate harm, that stands to be illegal to our country, therefore must be frowned upon. So when I shared that video yesterday, a lot of people try to say, well, you shouldn't share this, or you know, why are you criticizing their way of worship? I have nothing against your way of worship. Worship however you want. Our laws allow us to associate and have that kind of freedom. But nobody, no church, no politician, no individual must engage in any act that will intimidate, cause harm, or cause others to harm public or any figure. Everybody has an equal birthright in Guyana to live and to be free. So that's how that video thing has come up, Leonard. And that's how I believe we have gone so disastrously backward as a nation, where people could have such public things. I mean, I have no problem with the people going to pray in front of the gates of Parliament. Go pray. You know, in fact, I believe every one of us should pray, because maybe it's the only thing that can save this country anymore. But mind you, we have good laws, but we have people who bent on breaking those laws. We have good religions. We have people who are bent on abusing the religions to do what they want, and then say, you know, God is going to forgive me. It's up to your personal belief. I don't want to belabor more on that point, but I will continue to call out those who come into my public space for being abusive to others.
Thank you very much. And so there's no place for racists here. GMSA, the Guyana Manufacturing Services Association, calls for end to ongoing political crisis and transition to new government. It's been more than 4 months since the March 2nd, 2020 elections, and a democratically elected government is still not in place, despite undertakings and commitments to respect the results of the recount process conducted by GCOM and overseen by CARICOM and other observers. Attempts continue to thwart the declarations of the winner of the March 20th elections. And they go on. The GMSA joins the private sector commission, other private sector organization, civil society, other organization and groups, and the international community in calling for a swift conclusion to this political impasse, the declaration of the results based on the recount process, and the transition to a new government reflective of the will of the Guyanese people. So pressure being piled on. It's on and on and on. And so we go straight to another call. Good day, caller, you on the air.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I'm calling from Barbados.
From where? Barbados.
Barbados.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have 4 children. My husband is not here. He's Antigua. And I have 4 to mention, and the biggest one is 8 years. So I'm asking for help, I don't know.
All right, we're going to pause right here. Could we mute and let me take her number off here? Could we mute her? 1 second, folks. 1 second.
No, I don't have any WhatsApp.
Could you give me a number very quickly, ma'am?
Yes, 649.
649.
602.
602.
4049.
Okay, somebody call you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes.
Bye. Thank you very, very much. Our apologies there. All right, so we're back here now. Yog, I think it was pointed out that the contract of Exxon, was released. I think you could get it on Kaichur News online, Kaichur News website online. The contract was signed by Raphael Trotman in his capacity of Minister of Natural Resource at that point in time. And, eventually his department, the work of the oil thing, was taken over by the Department of Energy and fell under the Ministry of the Presidency. It was taken over, that whole oil thing, by the Ministry of the Presidency. So the contract was signed by Raphael Trotman. So just to bring you that clarification, there, Yo. Yes.
Leonard, I wish to ask once again that Mr. Peter Brown, if you have nothing to contribute here, sir, go in peace. Now, Mr. Brown, let me address your point. You have said, and you are lying and lying blatantly. You have said that we did not address the school kids. We did not address those kids that were supposedly stoned. I don't know who stoned them, sir. If you have any evidence, bring it and we'll deal with it. But I and Kaito Radio and Kaito News spoke out harshly, spoke out sternly against that act and against all acts of violence. Wake up, be real, sir. And if you cannot tolerate the conversation here, be gone. I am not going to respond to you again. But stop using people like words like hungry belly. Who's hungry belly? Are you? Well, go somewhere. But don't accuse and don't be vicious to our readers. And I would want to suggest you block Mr. Peter Brown.
I think the administrators has already done that. And Yog, you're right. I want to echo. There's no place in this radio here among decent people, decent Guyanese who want to have a conversation that's mature, that we talk about moving this country forward. There's no place here. So if you're going to come here and you're going to be using any kind of racist words, we are going to block you. And so, Mr. Brown, goodbye. Have a very good day. You find somewhere else where you could probably talk to the people and have that kind of conversation. It's not here.
Right, and let me also ask Mr. Clive Barrow, if you cannot be respectful to the people in this chat group, then be gone as well, my brother. If you can be respectful, your views are always, everybody's view is important. So be respectful or be gone.
Thank you very much for that. So we go straight to the phone lines again. Yes, good day, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Mr. Gildarie.
Yes, it is. You're on air. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, you and Mr. Yog Mahadeo.
Yes, sir.
I am calling from the British Virgin Islands.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And, I listen to you guys over and over, And you guys only talking about Lowenfield and Mingo. But the biggest crook is Claudette Singh. And you guys don't want to label her, and she is the biggest convict in Guyana. And she torments Guyana and Guyanese around the world. And you guys hosting something there, talking to everybody, and don't mention she, and she's the biggest crook. So why not come out clearly and, let the people know? A lot of people know, but we are frightened to say the truth.
No, sir. Let me put it this way. Your opinion is yours, and we respect it. If you feel that, then, that is your opinion. At this stage, I am not going to impugn the character of Madam Chairman. She has her role, she has her duty to play, and I am not going to enter into a paradigm where I would assess her character or assess her quality. I have, and Leonard would have also, we have expressed dissatisfaction with her methodology, with the way she works and the way she carries out her job. But you know what, sir, at the end of the day, she is doing what she feels is right. And, I'm not going to attack her on a personality basis. I'll attack what I believe is a problem. And I've said so before. So respectfully, I will say that to you.
Yeah, I respect that. But this is the thing, what got the whole Guyanese society at plague, and the Guyanese society worldwide, and even the international community, and nobody don't want to point a finger at her, and she is the biggest crook in this park.
Well, that is your opinion, and let's leave it like that now, because I don't want us to call names or anything like that.
I want to tell you something. I got great respect for you and Mr. Gildarie, and I want to let you guys know this. We as Guyanese abroad support the integrity of Guyana, black, blue, or green, and what she is doing is not right. And you, at the end of the day, we will reach, and you all will call her out. At the end of the day, she is the biggest cook in the pot. That's all I have to say. I just hope that my Guyanese brothers and sisters stand for democracy and peace and love. And thank you guys for doing the right thing. But you guys, still keeping back to say the right word. I'll give you guys a plus. Maybe it will come a time when you guys will see that. But I'm a plain speaker with bad manners. And in the world today, you don't have a high seat. And you know that.
That's all right. That's all right. Thank you so much for your views. And, Leonard, I would want to say as follows. Neither you or I called out or addressed Lowenfield in any particular manner until he showed his evidence by making false declaration, making false numbers, making falsified reports. And then we came down quite hard on him. I have not found, so these are things that we got to be careful with. And also on that note, Leonard, I respect the view. We all have our views, so that is that. On that note, I've just received an excellent point from my brother in the U.S. as well. He has said that, is it true that part of GOG, the government of Guyana statement, reads as follows, quote, the executive branch has not participated in the undermining of the electoral process. And if that is true, Yog, then is it not admitting that there is an undermining of the electoral process going on? And that is an excellent point, Leonard. I believe the government put its foot in its mouth with its statement by saying that there is undermining going on, and we all know who's been undermining it. All they want to say that nobody can point to them, but we know the intellectual authors. We have seen the Chronicle at it, the Guyana Rag. We have seen the NCN at it. We have seen the man who says he's the upholder of the Constitution at it. We have seen these people pervert every piece of law to suit their own narrative at it every day, isn't it so?
Mm-hmm. And Yog, I want to say on behalf of maybe I've seen some viewers and listeners, of course, they're saying, and they understand. I understand that caller too. I want to say thank you very much for joining us from the BVI, beautiful place, and I thank you for making that contribution. And Yog, I cannot say that I disagree with the caller. There would be a lot of frustration as to the process that would have been coming out here from elections, and maybe going after the GCOM chair too, because people would have felt that she could have done a little more, and there were many instances that were pointed out in the past of situation where she should have done a little more, opportunities that arose. But I rather presume, being the judge that she is, has never really faced this situation. It's difficult because when you hear court cases and other things, how do you, we're not walking in our shoes, I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, I'm sure that sooner or later that people are going to start, when the history books are being written, that people are going to call it exactly as it is. But as of now, I think she has written letters that we have seen. Maybe she missed a couple of opportunities. She's written letters which has basically boxed Keith Lowenfield into a corner, making him now not saying that you don't have the right. He stopped talking that now. What he's saying, you don't have a quorum. I don't see the three other commissions here, and therefore the people are not there. And I can't tell you because you're not constituted as a commissioner as of now. And so he took that position, then walked out. So in his role, he has acted as a rogue employee of GCOM, and that is what transpired yesterday based on our talks to sources who were there. And so it is what it is, but I do hear the caller, and it is reflective of some of the frustration that our people have been feeling 135 days plus since that March the 2nd election. So people want to get this over with and done. They want to see the families move on. I think this would send pressure to on the locals that are living here who are dependent on overseas. And when, I think a lot of people now, we have, whether we like it or not, people would have been calling the families overseas for help, help, help. They're also suffering because of COVID-19. And so people want to get this over with and done, that they want their families to move on in Guyana, not having a government, not continuously having a political situation like this is not helping much. People are concerned.
Yeah, people are concerned, and at the same time, Leonard, the ridiculousness on the other side continues. I mean, you look at social media, you're seeing one of the BBBs, saying, well, I got my U.S. visa here ready to give you back. Tell me date and time. Well, why not just tear it up? You don't have to have an appointment to remove your visa from your passport. Just tear it out and throw it away, and probably make an appointment and go and throw it in their faces. If you don't respect it, then do that. Don't try this nonsense, this verbiage of saying that. I see another person of the BBB saying, oh, well, I don't need U.S. visa. I'm going to use my British, my UK travel documents to travel. Well, they seem to miss the entire importance of this thing here, Leonard. It's amazing how the narrative is changing, and people are finding one way or another to spin it to suit whatever they want to think. But at the end of the day, whatever it is we are facing here, we will certainly see it, and we're going to see it happening. And unfortunately, Leonard, they're not getting the point that Pompeo also said, that members of persons' families will be investigated and may also be subject to the same kind of sanctions. And that is important, because you don't know when they say family. They didn't say immediate family. They didn't say your spouse or your children. They said members of your family. And so that is something we are awaiting this press conference tomorrow, but it is something that I guess will be interesting to see how it plays out in the future. And especially, look, Leonard, NCN carried a feed this morning, unbelievable, that says all of this is happening only because of the ethnicity of David Granger. You believe that? I mean, this is the what we stoop ourselves to. I have made sure that I kept that clip, because those things are important to keep, because these people are being paid by taxpayers' money. We are paying them to do this, ladies and gentlemen. I would like one of our lawyers to volunteer up and come and say, let's take some of them to court and put an injunction to stop them from receiving taxpayers' money, because they continue to steal our monies while they're doing the nonsense that they're doing, Leonard. So that is very low to say that all of this is just because of Granger's ethnicity. I don't know that Granger has an ethnicity. We didn't support Granger or Jagdeo or anybody because of their ethnicity. We supported a person because of what we thought they could have done for Guyana. Yes, there are some people who voted by ethnicity, and that's their right. That's their right. I don't care about that, and I'm not going to support or tell them to not go with what they want. At the end of the day, what are you telling the world? Oh, you hate us because of our ethnicity. Well, what about the rest of people that don't share your ethnicity? They're not thinking, Leonard.
Well, let us remain a very close country that has no relationship with the rest of the world. I'm not sure where you're going to buy your clothes, where you're going to bring in your television, where you're going to get your cash from, because you will not be able to do those kind of business. And here it is, one of the worst things that could happen is when other countries lecture us. And here is something coming from, I just sent it to you there, a personal editorial on Guyana by Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and chair of CARICOM. And this was broadcast at 8 a.m. This morning, July the 15th, on the National Broadcasting Corporation, NBC. I'm not sure if this is the U.S. that they're talking about here, the U.S. NBC. But I read you. We're probably going to put it, you could probably put it online there, but I'm going to read you a couple of paragraphs so you understand how serious this thing is when the entire world. And this is a chair for CARICOM is talking about Guyana. The Caribbean Court, on July the 8th, 2020, the Caribbean Court of Justice delivered its judgment on the long-running saga touching and concerning the election of the President and members of the National Assembly of Guyana. The general and regional elections held as long ago as March 2nd, 2020. The CCJ's judgment was lucid in every material particular, and as of Guyana's highest and final appellate court, it is authoritative. Thus, any attempt, however ingeniously clothed, to litigate all over again this or that matter upon which there has been a final determination, upon which the CCJ has pronounced authoritatively, is tantamount to an abuse of the process of the court, or is frivolous and vexatious. Since the delivery of the judgment of the CCJ, the chair of the Guyana Elections Commission, retired Judge Claudette Singh, has been seeking to bring finality to the elections through relevant decisions, declarations, and directives in accordance with the laws of Guyana and the judgment of the CCJ. Her central focus has been to get the valid votes as identified or defined by the CCJ counted. At every turn, GCOM has been frustrated by a recalcitrant chief elections officer. And you go down, and I need to read to you this last paragraph. These same violent, vulgar persons haven't failed in their attempts to curse and bully Prime Minister Mia Mottley and former Prime Minister of Barbados Owen Arthur and me, have now turned the demonic attention to the senior staff of CARICOM and other reputable persons in Guyana and the Caribbean community. We must now continue fearlessly to do the right thing. The evil of the anti-democratic brigands must not be allowed any space to triumph. I await soonest the declaration by the chair of CARICOM of the results of the elections. It's long overdue. I'm not sure. This is not something that is very good for Guyana. And here you have the CARICOM chair, assist the country leader of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He's the prime minister there. He's a friend to Guyana. He's come here on many occasions, rubbed shoulders with many. And he's saying, and this is beyond unbelievable, that we have opened ourselves to be castigated by no other than the chair of CARICOM. I guess immediately the knee-jerk situation would be, let us get the hell out of CARICOM and of Dodge at the moment, because that's what it is.
Very strong words. And let me read this part back, Leonard. The gentleman has said, quote, a rogue clique within Guyana cannot be allowed to disrespect or disregard with impunity the clear, unambiguous ruling of the CCJ. The time for decisive action is shortly upon us. And to your point, where you quoted just now, the same, quote again, the same vile and vulgar persons having failed in their attempts to curse and bully Mia Mottley and Owen Arthur and me have now turned their demonic attention to senior staff members of CARICOM. Now, Leonard, I mean no disrespect to her when I say this. Wasn't the former, wasn't the first lady a former employee of CARICOM?
I think so, yes.
So this is an indictment against CARICOM, against the officers, because there seems to have been something happening here. The same violent, vulgar persons then turned their demonic attention to senior. So it seems like senior staff members of CARICOM have really faced some stuff here, because Ralph Gonzalez continued, the evil of the anti-democratic brigands must not be allowed any space to triumph. Yes. Very strong words indeed.
And I'm very not sure. The more I'm looking at this, the more it upsets me, Yog, that we actually would have allowed ourselves to be in a position like this. I thought that and let me make it clear. I think we would have said this in the beginning when we would have started this program since more than 135 days ago. There was a time when you were traveling the Caribbean and in Barbados and Trinidad and so on, you were being placed on a bench, sitting somewhere, because are you going to come here to stay? They question you, and sometimes they put you back on the plane to make you fly back into Guyana, and these are what Guyanese would have gone through. Why am I saying that? Because over the last couple of years, our profile with the discovery of oil would have given us the respect that we so badly would have wanted, that we so deserved as a people of this country. That people, Trinidad wanted to come here, Venezuelans are coming here, Brazilians are coming here, all across the Caribbean, people are coming towards Guyana. We used to migrate to their country, they're migrating here now. Haitians are coming here, and all over the world, people come in. And for you to be placing yourself, that respect that we would have earned, that profile in which we would have risen ourselves to, it is all being wiped away because of what you see. I think very well put by Rav Gonzalez. It's not something that I like that is coming out of his mouth, but it is the reality. Yog, we have placed ourselves in a position that CARICOM, the region in itself, is saying this can't happen. We are extremely saddened. I think we even talking if Guyana decide to go that road and we decide to make ourselves a rogue state, it is going to be probably the end of CARICOM. So there's very much at stake here. I think CARICOM is very much aware of this, Yog.
Well, Leonard, I will go a step further. The spouse of one very senior member of this administration actually works at CARICOM. I would like to say all those people who are working at the CARICOM headquarters that are supportive of this cabal should resign their tenure there, should give it up, should move out, should give up that job. Why are you being so hypocritical to curse the place that you are working? I would like to call on all those persons of Guyanese base that is currently working at CARICOM head office. If you are backing this Granger administration, if you are backing the theft of democracy in Guyana, you should do the decent thing and resign, because you don't need a visa. You don't need to work at CARICOM. Leave it for people who respect the role of CARICOM. Leave it for people who could respect that CSME and the nationhood that we can get, the brotherhood of nations we can get from being part of CARICOM and Commonwealth. And they should resign. What are they doing there?
It is indeed true. So if you're now joining us, this is the elections and COVID-19 watch here on Kaicho Radio 99.1, 99.5. You could also get us on Facebook or YouTube. You just enter Kaicho Radio. And if you're on YouTube, you just click the subscribe button so you can be able to get live notification of lives when we go live here on Kaicho Radio. So we want to remind you, if you're now joining us also, let us bring you up to speed. There was a court case this morning with regards to elections 2020, one of the many vexatious filings to halt, to delay the declarations by the court, by the Guyana Elections Commission, rather, so that a president could be sworn in as early as possible. While that is happening, it's been overshadowed by announcements by the United States government with regard to sanctions on senior government officials of Guyana. What we do know so far, several government ministers, including the president of Guyana, David Granger, who happens to be celebrating 75th birthday today, he's been handed the early morning birthday present by the United States of sanctions. We're going to know details of that because the U.S. Embassy in Guyana is going to have a press conference tomorrow, virtually, of course, to give us some more details. What we do know so far, as is being reported by Kaichur News, is that one senior person would have been financing the coalition in the elections leading up and would have been a close supporter, Brian Tiwari, through his group, BK Group. He is on the list also. In fact, he and his family reportedly are among the list, the persons on the list who would be has been targeted by the U.S. For sanctions. And so in the meantime, we are also hearing that accounts have been frozen. The other ministers would be Cameron Ramsden, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu, I think Rupert Rupnarai's name is on that list, Raphael Trotman, and senior officials would have been part of the cabinet of the Granger government in the last period in his cabinet there. So that's what we know so far. The court case continues on Friday. While that is happening, news is also coming out from the United Kingdom that they're also looking at similar measures to what the U.S. Would have been announcing. And that news from the U.S. would have come out from no other than the man himself, who's in charge of foreign policies, foreign relations for the United States, Mike Pompeo. And this would have been mirrored by the U.S. Foreign Relations Committee, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, the chief of that this morning. While that is happening, the Canada has also come out and they are calling for Guyana to do the right thing. That is the coalition to ensure that that they do the right thing and making sure that the declarations are announced as early as possible. What we're also being told is that Canada is prepared to use whatever means, whatever tools, I think is the word that they would have used, at their disposal to ensure that the message is sent. CARICOM chairman, and this is no other than Ralph Gonzalez, who took the helm of CARICOM recently for the next year, has come out with an editorial of his own. I think it was read on NBC. We're not sure if this is the U.S. Big news channel there, but he's making it very clear that this is nonsense. A group that is a small group in Guyana is causing all this problem, and this is something that should not be tolerated. The region in itself there is very, very worried over the happenings in Guyana. We've seen increasing language from not only the region, but right across the world. There has not been not one person, not one in terms of country that has come out and say this is something, what they're seeing happening with the coalition, with GCOM, that is something that they like, that they would endorse, and so it is becoming a very lonely place for where the coalition is standing, for where Keith Lowenfield is standing, and from all indication, Keith Lowenfield name is also on that list for sanctions. So we are going to continue to bring you that. So Yog, as we have about half an hour more, this is getting very serious when you put it all in context, when you put it all together. The walls are closing in. The whole world is against this entire thing. Could you name me one person who would have come out in support of the coalition in this?
No, I can't. I mean, there's not a country and not a person that has come out in support. I mean, Leonard, you would have recalled a couple of weeks ago, and whether it was associated with what's going on here or not, Mr. Tenpau, I think, would have submitted his desire to not have his contract renewed. So, from that perspective, we would have seen even persons in Guyana's own diplomacy and diplomatic circles, in a way, disassociating themselves from what's going on. And it goes, I raise this because I honestly believe that all those persons who were appointed as board members, I would want to know who. Leonard, please share it with me privately if you can. I want to know who are the board members of the Guyana RAG. I want to know who are the board members of the Guyana, the NCN. I want to know who are the board members of these people that is spewing this hate, this kind of thing upon the Guyanese people. I would want to know who are the board members because I need to know them. I need to know who are these people that are doing this to Guyana. I want to know who are the ambassadors that are representing Guyana while we are being sanctioned, while a president can come out 2 days ago and say that the CCJ ruling was not final and had nothing important, and the kind of nonsense that came out from his mouth 2 days ago. I want to know who are the ambassadors, who are the high commissioners that representing Guyana in the different countries. It is time Guyanese know who are the people, Leonard. I know that they're in diplomatic circles, but at the end of the day, human rights is far more important than any diplomacy, right? And so when our basic rights, when the fundamental rights of our votes are going to be taken away from us, I don't care if you're an ambassador representing Guyana elsewhere. You are Guyanese and you need to speak up. You need to either divorce yourself from the cabal, divorce yourself from the illegality, because if you don't divorce yourself, it means you're part of it.
Thank you very much. There's a call online. Let's go straight to the lines. Caller, good afternoon. You're on air.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I am calling for a little assistance. If you have to give us a little assistance.
Let's go straight off here. Could we go off here and take that number, please?
Pardon me?
Yes, we're going to take a number off here. Just 1 second, please. Go ahead, ma'am. Could you give me a number, please?
You're still on air, right?
Okay, my apologies. Are we off here?
Hello?
Yes, yes. Let me give you my number. Give me a call in the next... Wait, are we off here? Okay.
Hello?
Yes. You take my number and give me a call. 682-1256. Give me a call in the next
What is the
45
number?
minutes. 682-1256.
I am not hearing you. The rain is falling so hard.
682-1256.
82?
Yes, 1256.
Hold on. I got to turn on the radio.
682
82?
1256.
Hold on. I got to turn on the radio. Yes, I have it.
682-1256. Next 45 minutes. Thank you. Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, caller. I think let's go to the next line. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Okay. In the meantime, Yoga, yes. While we wait on another person, let's read a couple of texts. Voting. Let me see here what to say. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Everyone at Kaicho News, Kaicho Radio. David Granger is going to give up on Friday. The man is waiting to celebrate his 75th birthday. Come on. Let me see. Good day, gentlemen, and everyone at Kaicho Radio. Same thing there. All right. There's another call. Yes. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Same thing there. All right. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So there is a guy who he's a Guyanese, but he's in America talking a lot of narrative. You think if his name is on the list, David? Because it should be.
Who is calling? Who is the name that you were saying?
David Hines. Is his name on the list?
Well, we're not sure. We don't have a full
Because
list.
all of them I'm glad that the people finally took a stand and finally decide to deliver this time. But I mean, some people are saying that they're unfair to do it, David Granger on his birthday. I don't think he taking other people's birthday into consideration, so they're right. You know, and it's good. It's good that the pressure started to pile. It's good that everybody caving in. Those guys are going to be like what? Like one on an island by themselves by now? Because nobody in knowing them, nobody in there with them, nobody inside there with them. I think from tomorrow we're going to see a different people. They're going to start backing out because they like the visa and they like the bank account with a guy in America.
Well, we don't know. You know of anybody that has a bank account in America? Well, don't mention it off here.
Don't answer.
I'm never going to mention the name. We know.
All right.
Enjoy the program, man.
Next thing you know, Glenn fired me tomorrow morning for allowing some kind of thing that I allowed to the black.
Look, as in the mood of protest, if you fire, we will come and protest.
All right. Thank you, my brother. God bless every day. Good day, gentlemen. Phase 2 of the COVID-19 curfew is due to end tomorrow, July the 16th. And phase 3 is set to begin on July 17th. But we are not given any more information about what phase 3 will involve. Can you seek out such information and enlighten us? Let me answer you this way. The chairperson that is in charge of the COVID-19 National Task Force, is none other than a man named Moses Nagamutu. Moses Nagamutu has not held a press conference about 6 weeks now. This is because he's very busy. I don't know what else to say to you other than that. We will await a statement coming out from them. We have gone beyond the 300, the number 300 cases so far in Guyana. We have, I think there was an 18th death, unfortunately, Yog. I was saying this morning, we have an 18th death this morning, was announced. And so we will await it on that. But we don't have any other information because the chairperson has not been keeping a press conference as normal as he had started off. I'm not sure why. So good afternoon, Yog and Leonard. Well, let me see. Yog, can you offer some direction as to how Harmon is going to be treated by the American since he's a citizen of America? This is a question coming from somebody who's texting from Canada.
Well, Leonard, I don't know. The truth is that, ladies and gentlemen, I am not happy that we have gotten to the stage where we are getting sanctions against Ghana. It's a sad day that we have gotten to this stage. It's a really, really sad day because, you know, brothers and sisters, when the international community has to take action against anybody, you know what word goes in front of their name in the headlines? Guyanese so and so, Guyanese David Granger, Guyanese Joe Harman, Guyanese so and so. So the Guyana word and the Guyana name gets labeled so badly over and over and over again. But to that point also, Leonard, the sanctions and the visa revocations and whatever they are, one has to remember that Mr. Joe Harman would have said to the citizens of this country that he had given up his dual citizenship, that he's no longer a citizen of the U.S. So all of that will come to light soon. Very soon we're going to see, because, you know, it is all going to be very open. A lot of things are going to come out and be very open to Guyanese people. We're going to see who's who really. So it is something that is interesting that we got to take note of, Leonard. The other side of this also is, to the callers believe that Granger may give up sooner rather than later. You know, it is, I don't know. We all thought that he was going to give up one day. It seems like as if he's hell-bent on staying in power regardless of whoever thinks about him. And the question has to be asked by this nation. Mm-hmm. Leonard, and the fact that the sanctions are coming, the questions have to be asked by this nation. If Claudia Singh declares Ali the winner, will Granger step out? Will he demit office? We don't know now.
Well, that's the other thing that is going to happen. But let's see who blinks first. Is that what is going to be? Well, let us go. Somebody has written to the Guinness Book of World Record. I have to read it. I'm compelled to read this, Yog.
I saw that.
No. Calm down, Yog. We have to tell the people this. This is really, really important. Hello there. I have a record for you guys. Guyana hasn't declared a winner for the March 2nd elections as yet. I've done my research and found that it's the longest elections without a result. Guinness Book of World Record has written back to Mr. C. Prasad and says we have already received numerous submissions pertaining to this record. However, we are waiting on the declaration before we publish this record. Thank you for your submission. So I thank you very much for somebody who would have sent this in. I'm glad that we are hitting the Guinness Book of World Records for something like this, and I think our people should take note. At least something good is going to come out of this. We hit in the Guinness Book of World Records. So that is where we are at with regards to that. But there's another, we're going to hit the callers in a very short while. Let us go back to some of our people who would have been writing us. And today, I always maintain that those who block democracy must be put to the toaster and the heat regulated. I agree that the chairperson could have been more decisive. Voting by ethnicity is a brainless thing to do. God bless us with intelligence. Let us not condemn ourselves to the cave or the jungle. Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi to give two persons who would have supported them. That is coming there. Let us see. How come? Let me see here. I believe that the DNA of the PNC cannot conform to democratic principles. This is a political observation and not a racial one. What are your thoughts? How come CN Sharma is at the board of the party? I thought he said the coalition lost the elections. Isn't the party at State House government property? I'm not sure how to answer this. CN Sharma is there, Yog?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe all the coalition members are there celebrating the birth of a dictatorship today, because what else could you be celebrating? It got to be the birth of a dictatorship. But to the point, Leonard, it is true. The question is very valid as to Granger's role. But mind you, persons of our various political divide. Mind you, everyone, brothers and sisters, that Granger still is constitutionally the president until a president is sworn in. Now, what they're doing is blocking the swearing in of another president to replace him. But until such a time, he is constitutionally the president. And no, Davina, I was not invited. Leonard was not here. We don't even get invited to the man's press conference, much less his party.
Personas non grata. I think that that's the term. Good day, Yog and Leonard. With the imposition of sanctions, JJ and LB cannot now act on behalf of the Granger regime. Well, if there is sanctions, I'm not sure. Have we reached that stage yet?
No, that is a different matter. They remember the sanctions are personal sanctions. They're
Right.
people's visas being revoked and stuff like that. But a contract, JJ and BLLC has a contract with them. And you know what? Whether JJ and BLLC does anything or not, they're going to be paid. So JJ and B will obviously do what they got to do or what they want to do under the contract. Jay Ali has said that he's a caretaker president. The government is a caretaker government. The Constitution used the words president, and so whether we like it or not, that is what it is.
And here it is coming from somebody else. Good day, Yog. I'm not a gambling man, but I bet President Granger will never ask for his visa to be reinstated. Yog, all politicians lie. So in the way you were saying that, it sounds like the APNU FC is the only politician who lies. And I presume this is a thing. They said, I've always had respect for you, Yog, but now you're talking crazy if you're telling people that a passport holder to tamper with a government document, that person can be jailed. No, we weren't saying that. We were making a joke that if you want to give it up, well, it's not a joke. If you're very serious and if you want to give up your visa, you know what to do. But also, if you've been talking that the United States is not important and that you don't want anything to do with them, I think I would want to make a statement, Yog, that I go to the United States, I'd call in all the media. And say, be there, I'm going to give up my visa today. So I'm going in to make an application or whatever it is, and then come out and say, here's my passport, the visa has been cancelled, and this is what it is. Take a picture so you can show the world. I have stood up in a principled way against the United States, which I believe, as a sovereign country, they should not be telling us, I'm not interested in going there anymore. I'm not interested in shopping there anymore. And we should stop doing business, period, with this country, which is a bully. I think we should do that, right? No, so we don't.
Leonard, the person has a point that can be argued that yes, the passport is the property of the government of Guyana, but one could as well argue about the birth certificates and the death certificates that these people went and they manufactured. A lot of fake things. And so if you do not value the passport, if you do not value your visa, why wait for an appointment? And to the point that the caller is making, I would say it's nonsensical. I'm sick and tired of people telling me that I have not spoken out against the other politicians. Go read, man. I have no patience to repeat these things except to say, been there, done that, have heard your criticism about this before. I have called out every single politician you could think of. And this is why I probably don't have any political friends, Leonard. But the truth is, only those who are affected by what or who are guilty, the truth will hurt. Mia Motley said it right. The truth hurts, so those who are being hurt are reacting poorly.
Thank you very much for that, Yog. Are you ever going to invite me to a birthday party?
I don't have birthday parties. I'll invite you to the prayer session that I have. That's my party. But jokes aside, certainly, and maybe our birthday party will be, who knows, maybe it will be a party, a political party.
Thank you very much. And talking about parties, today at the State House, we must bring you news that present there, based on a picture that we've seen here, is Sydney Alicock, Camarade Ramsden, Walter Lawrence, David Granger, President, C.N. Sharma. It looks like Mrs. Sharma. I'm not sure if this is Vincent Felix. Definitely, I'm the Ali Joseph Harmon. They're all in a picture that we've seen here at State House. So there is a group picture. Good. So I'm not sure. We haven't been invited. Yog, you're getting. I think my hanging out with you has really put me in a predicament. People stop inviting me to their places. I had some friends. I love them dearly. They stop calling me. Let us see. Let me see. Will Rickford Bork and Bransford Bork and Harmonies, I'm not sure, be sanctioned given the high level of gaslighting that's been advocated by them? let me see what else. Apparently, it's back to the CCJ. Please tell Yog that the Guyana rag is not appropriate. It used to be a daily toilet paper in the 70s and the 80s. Please let me know if you have anyone that needs help, and I'd be willing to help. If you can call me anytime or message me. Very good. Thank you very much, dear, from somebody who is willing to help our people while we are on this show talking about politics. The very harsh reality, Yog, the heartbreaking thing is that our many people are suffering. You and I are trying as much as we can help. I'm literally almost broke right now because you have to do what you have to do. But you know, our people really, it wakes me up in the morning, and I'm not. It's not a good place to be. That our hands are tied, and our politicians could be so heartless that we allow our country to be in such a position, Yoke. Good afternoon, sir. Do you know when the next repatriation flight to Canada? My aunt, who is a Canadian citizen, is hoping to return home. Soonest, grateful for your assistance. We're going to try to ask the Canadian Embassy. I'm not sure if they've made anything, but the Facebook page will normally have details of that. Good afternoon, heartless bunch in the cabal. The towering, I'm not sure what they mean, torturing their family members by allowing their visas to be revoked so they can satisfy the greed to stay in power. So you know, people are really coming out swinging at them today. Yog, it is not a good place. I would not like to be a politician that is on the wrong side of the people today. Good afternoon, you guys. I can only say one of the people that have a saying in this country. No, I think they're saying thank you very much for the job. That's what the person wants to say. Good afternoon to you guys. I'm so happy that the U.S. has sanctioned Granger and his cabal. We're suffering, but we're happy now. God don't sleep. We'll get through this together. I can't say that I agree with you. I wish we were not in this position, but it is what it is. Happy birthday to Mr. Gildarie. I have some mangoes for you. Yog, you're bad, man.
What did I do now?
You give me a birthday. It's not my birthday. My birthday is in December. There's a caller online. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
What did I do now? You give me a birthday. It's not my birthday. My birthday.
Yes, could you lower the volume of your radio, please, before you do anything?
You're on the air. What did I do?
Hello?
Yes, could you know?
Yeah, my apologies. If you're calling us, make sure that your volume is off before you do anything. It's going to disturb our thing. So, Yog, we have a couple minutes this evening in room 592. What do we have to offer to the people of Guyana?
Leonard, we are bringing in two of our attorneys that we have not brought in room 592 before. The reason being, we want to have some fresh perspectives as to what is happening and how do these attorneys see the current case before the High Court, especially that petition to the court to strike down Section 22 is very, very, very important that we all understand what it is about. So tonight we're going to have Ms. Marcia Nadir Sharma, who, she has been on the PPP slate, so we're going to have her opinion of what's going on there. And we're going to have Mr. Durjan as well, who, as you know, is a very independent attorney at law. Mr. Sian Durjan is very independent. I don't know what side of the divide his opinion might seem slated towards, but it will be very respected because he's, for lack of a better word, he's a fierce attorney at law that loves the law. He loves the law for what it is and how it can be used. So those are two young, energetic lawyers we're bringing into the house tonight, into the room 592 tonight, and certainly we're looking forward to a good discussion.
And thank you. And as we on that, I've been instructed by my management here, by the publisher, Mr. Glenn Lal, let us continue to invite people from across the divide, whether you're from the coalition, whether you're from the opposition. We want to hear from you, especially some of the big officials because there's 2 and 3 and 4 sides to every story. So we want to hear you about. We have extended that, we must say, to those persons, and we want to see the radio station here. We only manage the radio station here. It belongs to the people of Guyana, and so I think people want to hear. Let us see what happens. But we coming down to the close of it, Yoga, and very quickly, let us tell the people of Guyana what would have really transpired today on elections and COVID-19 watch here on Kaicho Radio. And we coming to you live on Facebook, Kaicho Radio on Facebook, Kaicho Radio on YouTube, and Kaicho News online. And so today was a very critical day when it comes to the court. The High Court, the Chief Justice is set to hear a case on Friday with regards to challenge that would have been raised, which is in effect halted Keith Lowenfield from doing anything. And so we are going to wait that court case on Friday. We expect the Chief Justice in her own style to finish this case on Friday and then as well this weekend to hand it in. But however, while that's happening this morning, major breaking news, the U.S. has announced sanctions on several government officials, starting from President David Granger going downwards. The U.S. Embassy in Guyana here tomorrow is going to hold a press conference to tell local media some details as to that. This morning, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced that there are sanctions, visa revocations, among others. While he did not immediately name those persons, we would have gotten, based on our sources, some names. One of them, based on a report on Kaicho News, would be B.K. Tiwari, a big financier for the coalition. He's a big contractor also, and he and his immediate family are targeted by the U.S. That's what we're hearing. We're not sure what kind of impact this would have on his position as a consul general for Spain, Spain's representative to Guyana. But of course, this might have some implications to that. In the meantime, Canada's also come out and say, warning that it has tools at the disposal and could be using those tools as well with regards to elections 2020. And Britain, in the meantime, the UK, sources have announced that they have similar measures like the US on Guyana. And don't forget, very quickly, the CARICOM chair, Ralph Gonsalves, who's also the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, he would have come out with a very harsh editorial, I think, which was published on or aired on the NBC. We're not sure if this is the same US big channel that they have there. But he's also slamming the coalition, making it very, very clear that this is not something that the region could continue to have this situation, and they want the coalition and GCOM to go ahead and make this declaration as early as possible. So the pressure's piling up from all over, and even the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee has come out backing the United States Secretary of State on this entire thing. In room 592 this evening, we are going to look at some of the implications and get deeper into it as Dr. Yog Mahadeo lead us on that, room 592, in his usual style as well. So, Yog, any closing comments before we wrap the session up? Unfortunately, so many things we want to, as always, take some more calls from our people, but it is what it is. I leave it up to your hands now before we close. In the meantime, I see Yog is muted, and I think it's probably gone. But we want to thank you very much for joining us in the last 2.5 hours. And we are going to be back with you at 7 p.m. this evening in room 7:30 rather, in room 592. Two lawyers are going to be there, and we're going to delve deeply into sanctions. We're going to talk about Ralph Gonsalves. We're going to talk about the court case this morning that is before the Chief Justice. It is going to continue on Friday. So, Yog, you're back. Very quickly, could you wrap up for us?
Yes. Yes. So we have Sander John, an attorney at law, independent thinker. So So we don't know, as I said, what side or what if he's going to take a side from a political perspective, but he certainly is a fierce lawyer. We have Miss Marcia Nadir Sharma, and also we're going to get an update from Mr. Seth Gunraj, Commissioner Seth Gunraj, as to what is happening with his perspective as a commissioner with this court case. And we want to ask him a little bit about the recount and the importance of order number 60 and stuff like that. So it will be a very, very interesting night tonight.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. And of course, as usual, on behalf of Kaicho Radio, the team at Kaicho News, Mr. Glenn Lal and family, and my crew here in Kaicho Radio, Kevin, Raj, Joshua, a good day to you, and we really love you guys. You have joined us day in, day out. We're hoping to bring it to a close when it comes to elections, and maybe start talking about other programs that has to do with the development of this country, moving this country onwards, maybe communities watch, something like that. We are getting a little tired as to this thing dragging on and on, but it has been a pleasure being with you guys. Bringing you the news, bringing you the analysis on Kaicho Radio, 99.1, 99.5. Do have a pleasant rest of the day. Until 7:30, Dr. Yog Mahadeo will lead the way in room 592. Goodbye.
COVID-19 tips sponsored by Dex Soap. 1. Practice social distancing. 2. Wear your mask when leaving the house. 3. Wash your hands regularly for 20 seconds using our Dex Soap. 4. Cover your nose and mouth with a disposable tissue or flex elbow when you cough or sneeze. Choose Dex Soap for that extra cleanliness. Dex Soap is affordable and available nationwide.
Kaicho Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaicho Radio.